As we continue in this wilderness journey with John, discovering something of what Elijah discovered, we see that there's this spiritual hierarchy of needs, that a wilderness is used to shape our growth as Christians, part of that divine discipleship strategy that God has. We see that wildernesses allow us to create a healthy dependence on God. They allow us to create a healthy security in God, and they allow us to develop healthy relationships in God. This leads us to the fourth stage of our spiritual hierarchy, which I want to call healthy preparation. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the fourth layer of human growth and development is what he calls esteem. And this is where we start to value ourselves. Wildernesses teach us that we can trust God. They teach us that we can have our past redeemed, whatever that is. We can discover a security by discovering healthy relationships where our past is healed. We can then discover, the intimacy of relationship with God and find that sense of the amazement of being with God. And when those three foundational stages have been gone through and we grow, we can then begin to discover who we truly are. That sense of the real me. Often we go through life wearing masks. We don't want to let people close. We're afraid if people discover the real me, they won't like me. Or we feel that if we're going to be accepted, we've got to live up to some sort of stereotype or some sort of model. And over the years, churches have been terrible at this, that actually, if you want to join the Christian club, you've got to somehow become one of the crowd. You've got to fit in. You've got to have this sort of put on the clothes, wear the right clothes, say the right words. I read an article recently about how middle class Christianity is, and how somebody said that when they first became a Christian, they got invited round for a meal, and that meal was dished up in individual dishes on the table where you would sort of help yourself. And she was reflecting on how her experience growing up was sort of chips and beans in front of the TV, and how middle class Christianity was, and how difficult she found it to fit in because of that. There's something, if we're going to discover our potential and grow, where we have to become comfortable with the real me. And the wilderness strips everything away and actually asks questions of us, asks questions of who we are. I remember when I was in my secret place, and one of the things I like to do there is I sometimes put some music on and listen to music. And one of my favourite bands, Mercy Me, there was a song playing, and that song talks about, if I knew then what I knew now, what would I say to the younger me? The song was called Dear Younger Me. And it's a picture of actually stopping and talking to ourselves as a young person, saying, if I knew then what I know now, what advice would I pass on to myself? And I think there's a sense sometimes that when we stop and reflect, we can look at ourselves and get honest. And sometimes we have to get honest with ourselves. We have to hold our hands up and say, you know what, God, I need you to refine me. I need you to shape me. I need you to knock the rough edges off me. And I think my experience has been that God's led me into the wilderness a number of times because he's needed to make me stop and listen. And the only way you can actually deal with some of the issues in my life is to strip everything else away. It's like a loud hailer going, stop Forrest Gump, stop running, I need to take time with you. And as painful as some of the experiences I've been through in my life have been, I think those were because God needed to deal with issues in my life. I needed to discover the real me and become secure in who I am and secure in what I am. And the wilderness allows us to do that, to discover the real me. And God may have given us gifts, but if we're going to use those gifts healthily, we need to actually have a security in who we are. We need to be wearing our own clothes and not the overcoat that somebody else puts on. I can think of people who are shaped by their parents who are looking to say, my great-grandfather did this, my grandfather did this, my father did this, therefore I need to live up to that family role model. Don't fear the wilderness. If you're going through a time at the moment where it feels a bit bumpy, or you're going through experiences that are a little bit painful, I want to suggest to you that maybe what God is doing is working on your character and refining your character so that you can be all who He wants you to be.